Hello everyone, welcome back to the Flutter Boring Show with me, Filip, and
me, Emily.
Once again, your favorite hosts. I hope. So, today is going to be interesting because today's topic is very exciting, as always, even more so than normally. And today's episode is going to be about
Dart! The language details!
I was expecting refactoring, but so I was surprised. Good. So, and that's great that we have Emily here because she's coming from the Dart team. She's
Bring in the Dart.
Yes. So today, as always, we'll be talking about the Hacker News app that we've been working on for a year now, I think, and we're just going to look through the code, which has accrued a lot of technical debt. And we'll look at things that we can improve in the span of 1 hour, I think. Mm-hmm. So let's...
And pointing out features about Dart. Like, we get questions from time to time about specific things like, for example, when to use final versus const and things like that. And so we'll be walking through the code and making adjustments and being like, we actually didn't use the best practices in this particular example or whatever, but explaining all these fun language features along the way.
Yes. So if you're not familiar with the app, it's this one. It's basically lets you read Hacker News, and we've added a lot of features that I'm not super happy about, but like you have a
some better than others.
Web view here. But anyway, so it's just a pretty simple app that I think looks good, and we have this many files, and it's pretty short, so I think we should be fine just kind of going through it and fixing what we can. So first up, this is main, right? We are using block. We're not going to talk about state management today. We're going to talk about only little language stuff mostly. So we're running app. And here, I love it, there's a to-do Filip H. Do we close the block subscriptions here?
I wonder who wrote that.
And I love that how that's like a start of a chat session here. So I could be like, oh, to-do Emily, right? I think that was you.
Yeah. True story.
I don't know. So anyway, I mean, the question.
Yes. Do you want to know the context of that question?
Yes, please.
So, if you look at, there are warnings. We were starting to try and fix up technical debt in the last episode, and unfortunately, our block expert was not around to query for last minute questions.
Right.
And so yeah, there's a warning. I believe if you look at the issues, there's one about streams not being closed, and so we're looking, and so normally, like with a widget, if you have, for example, like a stateful widget, in a knit widget, you might create the stream, and then there's like a dispose or destroy at the end. But then with block, it's like this block of long-lived code, and I was unclear where to close it.
Good question. I'm just saying it's a great way to talk. It's just like you invented the best chat ever.
Would you like to commit that so I can respond?
Yeah, I could.
This is gonna be the longest boring show ever.
No, so to this, because these blocks basically have the same lifetime as the whole app. Like it needs to be there for the whole duration. I feel like you obviously normally you want to close all things and just destroy everything after yourself, but in this particular instance of these two, we're not actually using anything that we need to free, so as far as I know, so we can just let it die when the app dies,
because everything gets cleaned up at once.
But it's true that the way to get rid of this, no, this one actually doesn't have it. But to get rid of this one is just the lint is just to have like a close here and just close the sinks, but we don't have where to
doesn't get called.
Yeah, because you can't if I go back to this isn't like a feature. It just runs the app.
Right.
You can't wait until the app stops running or anything.
Well, but because it's not asynchronous, when you advance the next line, it will have stopped running, right? When run app is done.
I think it's just it starts. It's like inflates this, but it's immediately we could try this. Print hello.
Oh yeah, no, because it's not gonna. We will. There's no way to like physically give. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
There's no way to access that line because either you kill the app, at which basically we're in a event loop.
Right.
And.
Oh, real?
I mean.
Yeah. I was even thinking maybe let's try this.
I would be shocked if we get a print statement. Shocked, I tell you.
Are you shocked?
What?
Yeah, I think run app just like kind of inflates it and starts doing its thing, but you can continue doing that.
So it is?
Yeah, it's not blocking. It's just like tells Flutter, hey, here's your app, do the thing.
How does that?
Yeah, but in both cases,
I have to do some research because that's very confusing.
Yeah.
It's like, why isn't it asynchronous? Weird.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
But anyway,
we'll get back with you
learned a new
with an
thing.
answer at some point.
In any case, it wouldn't work. I mean,
yeah, because if you close it right there, then you can't
yes.
use it at all. So definitely don't close it then.
All right. So I think we managed to do this. Next line that I'm interested in is this one. So we have an app and we have a field on it, primary color, which is a very exciting white. And right now it's final.
Yeah.
And one of our commenters on YouTube said, so what's the deal? Like, what is final versus what is const?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You're the expert.
I am the expert. Yeah. So, oh man, where to even start? Okay, const, if something is const, it is also final. But the way, so let's think about using this in terms of like a flowchart. Mm-hmm. So you're like, I have a variable that I want to not change its value. First question is your variable an instance field or variable? In this case, so because it's static, it's not an instance field. So in this case, no. If it is an instance field, you can only have final as something to describe an instance field. So it's an instance field that doesn't change. Uh-huh. If it is not an instance field, in this case, because it's static, it's for the whole class, you could use final or const. I actually think I would use const in this case. So the two things. So generally, final is it can only be assigned once. Const, at compile time. So in this case, colors.white is known at compile time. So there's nothing that's dynamic that needs to there's no like bit of code that needs to execute and then is assigned and then it's set.
We should know that if you want something const, it needs to have a const constructor, right? I think.
True.
So like in this case, it's just color is just this class that basically has one value, and that's an int value. And then there's a lot of different ways to use it and different getters and stuff like this. But for simple values like this, I think const is great. But many other things cannot be const because
they don't have const constructors.
Yeah.
So but if you're doing things like defining a constant like pi or the color white, these are great candidates for const. It's basically used for I'd say they tend to be more small values, not small like in terms of size.
Yeah.
Not like a complicated piece. Like final could hold sort of an arbitrarily large complicated piece of code.
Yeah. So to me, const is it's immutable. Like the everything that is in const has to be also const, and it goes all the way down.
That's true.
So if you have something final, as for example here, like there's a final block, right? That's definitely mutable, but you just can't assign it. So you know that if it's assigned here, it will always stay that same value, and it can never be null, therefore, right?
It's a good point. So a maybe more common example is like if you have a final list. So if we had in my app final my list or whatever, you can assign it you can initialize it with a list, but within that list you can add things. It just means that variable you can't reassign it to become some other list. It won't.
Yeah.
I guess one other interesting thing. I feel like this. Is this clear?
I mean,
it's a little muddy. There's one other thing I wanted to talk about with const, but so in particular with Flutter, you may see things like I think there's like const. We have like const with padding often. There'll be like my padding, not my padding, but a padding widget, and there will be if you just search for const, I bet stuff will come up.
Oh, const.
Okay, so got that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So padding, and you see that we've got this like const thing here. Number one, final doesn't really make sense there because there's no variable being assigned. Final is only for the thing. But why are we using const here? This is specific to Flutter. So Flutter's whole idea is like it just with things like set state and state management, you're trying to determine what pieces of your widget tree in your view have changed. And so with const, it's kind of a shorthand for Flutter to know that anything in that little sub-widget branch is never going to change because it's const all the way down. So this can result in pretty substantial performance improvements from time to time. But again, it has to be compile time constant, so you can't, if for example, with this edge inserts, you have like horizontal 4, if that 4 was a variable, couldn't be const.
Right. So for example, I could say, oh, here's a list and I know what it is, so I'm gonna do like const here, and then I get screamed at because no, column is not a const. I can make it.
It doesn't have a const constructor.
So yeah. So sorry, can't do that. Right. So I think like the easiest thing, like if you can make it const because the compiler will like you, and it can like inline things. I think, I don't know, but
yeah. But honestly, more than just the compiler itself, it's more Flutter performance in execution of your app, because then it doesn't need to do the whole walk the widget tree.
Right.
It gets to the const, it's like, great, I don't have to do all the recursive walking further down to check if things need to be updated or redrawn.
Right.
So in summary, because I feel like
yeah, this is a complicated topic, so you know.
So know that if you just have a value, final's out of the picture. Const is your friend because you can't have final values. But final is about assigning to a single variable, and that just means it can be assigned once. If you have an instance variable, then final is what you want. If you have a class variable like static and or like a global variable or something, const may be appropriate. I guess one other thing to say is in this like primary color, the color's white. So we've said this const, and then that means that everything on the right side of the equation is also const. It's kind of like,
right.
I guess that's obvious.
Maybe
not.
Yeah.
But that is how it is, whether it's obvious or not.
Okay.
Now it's obvious.
So we have that. So we've talked about one thing, and by the way, there's no structure to what we're going to talk about, except I'm just going to go line by line and look at things that we could improve. So sorry, it's gonna kind of be a pell-mell of things. One thing that I noticed here is code that we actually don't need. So this is obviously coming from the first version of the app that was basically based on the counter example, which like tries to tell you, oh, you can have things like title, you can put it downwards to the widget and tell the widget, oh, your title is this, right? In this case, this is really just boilerplate, right? Because we just have it here and then we use it, title. We use it here and that's it. And it's not like we're reusing the homepage widget like 7 times.
It's like we're arbitrarily passing in a parameter for no real reason.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just gonna do this. And now this should be screaming at me.
It was an optional
parameter.
parameter.
It wasn't even required. See, so that's that. See how it screamed at me when I didn't have it here because it says final, and I'm like, you're not providing me the final field, and it by this super call, it should have been defined somehow. Before it was defined, but now I defined.
So because final can only be written once. Or assigned once. In this case, it's like you have this instance field, and it's like you could, by the time you've executed the constructor, everything should be assigned. Yeah. But it's like, this didn't get assigned. Something is wrong. Right. Panic.
So, calm down, compiler. I'm gonna take this out, and now we just do this, and that's that.
Much better.
Yeah, much better. Also, I have this here, and I don't really.
Why did it not like that?
I think I just didn't wait. That's a good question.
Oh.
Yeah, it's already defined. Oh, you know what?
So we were closing it. Oh my gosh.
Okay. No, I did this because I wanted to show the close and it was already there. Okay. Next up, this guy.
Yeah.
Builder.
So
we're in the scaffold, we're in the homepage, and now suddenly there's this weird widget that's Builder. Why?
Yeah. So normally, Builder widgets are useful if you find yourself in like a in maybe like a helper method or something, and you need access to the build context, aka if you're in something that's not the build method, and you need it for, in this case, we're using navigator.push because we're changing navigation sometimes, or if you have like a snack bar, anything like that. But because we're in the build method, Builder is superfluous, so we should just remove it.
Yep. So let's do that.
And we've made our widget tree smaller in the process too.
Oh, and also, yeah.
Isn't there a shortcut for like removing?
Oh, there is. I'm not sure if that works for builders though.
Oh, really?
Remove? No. I think it wants something with a child, and then it knows. But if it's a builder, then it's and this, and now we don't need any of this. And I think
so much better.
Oh look! We're like 5 meters left of where we were before, and hopefully everything still works.
Hot reload.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Good. Okay, so that's Builder. There's also this, which looks a lot. I don't know if we want to do this, but like normally, probably you want to have named roots.
I would say if it gets complicated.
Yeah.
Like if it's like maybe if your app is 1 or 2 pages, probably fine. Yeah. But if not, but we can talk about it just for good measures.
Yeah, I actually don't know. So like this actually is helpful because we don't need to tell the named root what URL it should be like showing, right? See, but so if we have navigator push named, I think, then I don't think navigator push named. You have context and you have root name, and that's it.
So we kind of need that.
Yeah.
That's kind of an interesting.
I think there's a way, but there's a way to. But okay, so what I would do in this instance is I would go to Flutter docs. There's a cookbook, and there is navigation, and then I think named roots, and I'm pretty sure we are talking about this. Define the roots, navigate to the second screen.
So I've certainly done named roots, but I don't know that I've had a situation where I needed to pass something into a named root.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, I did. You can like, I think there's like a additional. There's something like you can kind of. No. Okay, sorry. I'm I'm talking to myself here.
I have no idea.
So I think this only works if you can return something.
Right. From that. Right.
And then
yes,
you get
yes.
but you can't pass, to my knowledge.
Yeah. I don't know. So we don't know.
Okay.
We don't know.
We can ask and get back with you.
Yeah.
Tentatively, that's We're doing what we can do.
Okay. Another weird thing is this. So this is...
Yeah, that's my fault.
This is a ternary operator on...
Huge chunks of code.
Huge chunks of code.
And it's basically copied.
It is? Okay. Oh, yeah. So, I mean...
wait a minute. This was dumb. Good job, Past Emily. So I think all we need to do is passing current index to right there. I think everything is the same.
And this also.
Oh, okay. So there's not... Okay, so we can just move the ternary operator smaller. Or we can do something different if you want.
Yeah, we can... So
what I was just saying is you can... do you want to highlight just this? Yeah. You would have just stream builder. And you would put that ternary operator in the stream colon.
Yeah, let's
do
that. Let's just do this. So either this or that other thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's this one.
Yep.
And let's not worry about formatting right now because we have.
And then pass
this.
In current index. Yeah.
Oh, pass in?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I was gonna do like ternary operator with this. Good job. Okay, so...
Well, it wasn't when I wrote it, so I'm glad we can look back at these things. And I think it's that whole...
Is that whole thing? Yeah, it's the whole thing. Cool. See, much better. Okay, we're making progress here.
Yes.
There's...
I suppose one other way to do that, if like you had something that didn't reduce down as well, is you could have like a helper method, or you could create a new widget.
That's what I was gonna do. Is have maybe like a local variable here and see like if it's that and then just pass it in. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it could be a method.
Yeah, I guess. And actually, one could argue that this widget.hackernewsblock.top-articles versus the new articles. If that thing, you could even say it now. It's a little long. If your thing was even longer, you could just do the variable, assign the variable, and then pass that in as stream.
Yes. Okay, another one here is when we're tapping, we're saying, if it's index 0, then we want to call this method on this thing. With this argument. Mm-hmm. And if it's something else, then we do this, which works for us because our index can be only 0 or 1. Index being either this or this.
Top stories, new stories.
Right. So this works now, but imagine that I add a new thing. So index can go to 3, but suddenly, and I don't read the whole code, and suddenly, for some reason, whenever I click on the 3rd or the 4th, I still get new stories and I'm confused. So we could obviously do switch statement. That would probably make more sense if we had more things. But right now I'm feeling lazy, so I can just assert that index equals 1. And so whenever I add a 3rd one and I click it, hopefully during development, then this will gonna blow up. Asserts won't, they are compiled away for production, so this would still not work for regular people or users.
Yeah, when you
but for you, it's a really good way to kind of make sure that this is what I was expecting or else not expecting. So I put assert everywhere because I can't keep track of all the things that I should be doing or not doing.
Yeah, and assert will execute if you just hit run and you've got hot reload, then assert it'll make that test. You don't have to add debug flags or anything when you run, just is there.
Right. we could actually, maybe we could show like, so this should work, right? So yes, obviously if it's not 0, it's 1, because we have 2. If we had something like this here, then hopefully this will blow up. Please blow up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hooray! It blew up.
Yay. So back to basics, and nothing blows up. Okay. Yes. All right. That's good. What do we have like a little cheat sheet here?
Yeah, just to make sure that we cover all the good things.
Yeah. Build item. Oh yes. So we have a method here.
Helper method.
That builds an item, and what do I call it here? Oh, here. Okay.
And it's almost as if there were a class that had a method called build that allowed you to do something pretty similar.
So,
I wonder if we could do that.
Yeah. So we have a build item method, which means that every time this build thing is called, then we are running all this code for every item that we have here, right? Which many of these will be the same from one build to another. So we might as well tell Flutter, hey, this is a widget. This whole thing is a widget that's called like an item widget, maybe even. And I just want everything here to be in a widget build method. And so when Flutter sees this and it's the same widget, it's like, okay, I'm not going to, like if it's the same thing, I'm not going to do all the work that I would normally do to run the build method, right? So I think we have a...
And also, this is, this build item method is pretty dang large. So if you find, my general rule of thumb is if you find yourself with a method of any kind that is longer than like a page screen, if you can help it, you should probably make a new thing.
Cool. I know that I think you showed it. Someone showed it on a Boring show before, but we have a helper extract widget, so you can actually extract this hopefully. And I said item widget, right?
It's very descriptive name.
And
isn't this the cleanup episode? Wait, let's see. So what is this doing? Maybe we can come up with a better name.
Okay. So let me see. Let me just add it here.
That's kind of funny. Yeah, we should take it.
Widget what? Context. Okay, this is weird, but we'll make it better.
Okay.
So map is
item widget.
Okay. Wait, what are we getting here? What's data? Oh, it's article. Okay, article.
We're not passing any. We're not using article.
So the helper is not super like perfect. So
no, but that A we're not even using, right? Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, but we should.
Oh, okay.
Because see, here we should be doing it. So I'm gonna
we'll work on improving.
Article final, of course. Article. And that means we don't need top context, we don't need widget, we need this article.
Speaking of final, one thing we didn't talk about. Oh, I won't distract you. It's because you haven't initialized.
Right. Yeah. And then article title. Oh, all good. No.
Widget.
Oh, prefs block. Okay, so I need the preferences block to be there as well, which is this.
Now, wait a minute. Isn't the whole point so you don't have to pass all this stuff around?
Not block. Other things.
Yeah, other things. But, but block doesn't have that property. It's been a while since I did block.
Yeah, in like block itself doesn't do. Yeah, scout model will help.
Okay.
Do we? Okay, this.
Because I was gonna say, if you're passing around your state management system, to me that feels a little bit like a code smell.
No state management here. No,
yes.
Yep.
Forget that was brought up.
So I'm gonna this one. I don't know if we ever talked about this, but these are little annotations that can tell the system to kind of like, oh, this is a named parameter, which is normally optional, but I actually want this required. You'll see that a lot. So now like we get a, hey.
I will also say, so yeah, it's a current shortcoming of Dart. If you have a named parameter, it's optional. Sometimes you want to have, Flutter style is to have named parameters. Sometimes you need them. The Dart team is looking at changing that.
Ooh, yeah.
So that you don't have to have an annotation. That's in the process though, so.
Okay, I'm okay with this. Are you okay with this? So we're item widgeting this, like we're mapping each of the articles into an article widget?
Yeah, wait, so I'm going to look at what this is actually building so I get a better sense of what it's actually doing.
So we are here. We're building this one.
You know what we could do, Philip?
Yeah?
We could use the inspector and see what this is actually building. Or we could look at the code.
Oh.
Maybe I'm overcomplicating things.
Yeah, I'm scared. No. I just don't know how to use all this. But
I can show you.
Yeah. Let's go.
Okay. Yeah. So pull up the inspector thing, and I think so. Basically, if you click on this is like I want to go hunting for or looking for widgets. So if you tap on this, it's like, oh, you just clicked on a text widget. And so item widget is this whole thing. Right. So maybe you could say, this is like, it's basically item is padding plus the expansion tile plus everything. So, what would we call that? Article.
It's the item in the list view. That's why I was gonna say item widget, but it's. Widgets probably shouldn't have the word widget in them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do we have article? Do we have an article class? Yeah, we do, because this is data. So what if we call it? Naming is hard.
Yeah.
Article viewer. People don't like to use viewer though. Article.
I would like item as in list item.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But it could be a list item.
Isn't that already a predefined thing?
Yeah.
Just call it underscore item. Oh man, this is why we passed us had a cop out and just did build item.
Yeah. No, it's okay. Oh, whatever. Let's
after we debated all this. We had build item to begin with. It was right in front of us, Philip.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, this works.
And notice that I've added the underscore and because this class shouldn't probably be. This should be an implementation detail of the main method, which also we should probably deal with. But anyway.
Yeah, so underscore, so Dart doesn't have public and private. If you're coming from Java, you're like, where's my scoping protections? And so we've got underscore, kind of like Python does, to mark that it is private. Now, private in Dart means private to the package, or AKA to the file.
Mm-hmm.
So anything within the file can still access this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and within scope,
Right. I think the difference between Python and Dart is that Dart actually enforces this. Python is like that's the thing that you do, but you can actually.
Yes, Python's all about the duck typing, so it's like make it behave this way, and
right.
Well, I guess I'm not duck typing. Anyway, yes.
It's so this is.
It's enforced.
This is right now enforced, and it's private to this file. At some point, maybe when we get to actually write tests, we would maybe unprivate this and test the actual widget, but not now. Anyway, so that's great. Now everything should still work, and now
great.
All works. Okay, good. So build item was this. And there was another called small. Oh, this one. I love this. So if article title is null, then we say null. to the user because that's what every user wants to read. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm assuming, or I actually know that there's Hypernews actually can give you the API, can give you an article with title null. Never happened, but it's there in the API. So we just said null. I could just I don't know, just like how do we should probably show something to the user, or maybe we can just skip the article if it's null title. I don't know.
Yeah, I was leaning towards that because it's like, how are you going to get any information about it? Why would you click on something that doesn't have a title?
True. Okay, so we need to filter.
So you can do like
probably
where.
Yeah, and I think this is business logic, right? So
this
should
do that
be
in
the
block.
block.
Oh no, we're talking about strings.
No, this is okay. This is good. So articles, top articles. This is also needs some. But wherever we're getting articles. Okay, get article. Okay, so here we're getting articles, and then
articles equals. Oh, and we said it. Articles equals. Why do we do that? Oh, final. No, why? That seems silly. Why can't we just do articles equals await future?
Oh, probably just because we you're right. Maybe we were like debugging, and I don't know.
Maybe. Let's clean that up.
But we map each of these to an article, and then we can actually go where article title. No, we are getting article right here. Wait.
Get article.
Yeah.
Article.
Oh, it's a future article. Does .where?
Oh, jeez.
What do I get here? Is it? No.
Do we have to await?
Yeah, we need to await. It's more complicated than I thought.
Well, okay, hold on. So get.
Oh, you know what? We can do this.
Yeah. If you parenthesis, I think around the await and the. Yeah. Now we've got our future.
Oh, you know what? So now.
Oh. It's like as if it were written that way originally. Yeah, well.
Okay, so it's gonna do all, and then articles is actually all the filtered.
Now, Philip, should you be using final there? Okay, we'll come back to that.
All
in good time.
Yeah. Article where article title is not null.
Mm-hmm.
And now filtered. Nope.
Can't you just
a toolist, probably, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because it's a lazy...
Wait a minute. A value of title is bool? Oh, where? Not map. Come on.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So, hold on.
What?
So, first of all, why did you define a separate variable called filtered and then assign it to article? Just for description?
Felt like, description, kind of like a self-commenting code.
Okay.
You're not...
I'll allow it.
All right. Where were we? Where were we?
Are we not going to talk about final?
Not yet.
No.
Wait, we should need to go through the whole thing. So now we know that article title is not null, and actually to make sure I can do this, article title is not null.
Mm-hmm.
And we can actually do like, what are you doing? Oh, well. You can add a message so that...
Yeah, of course, in this case, it'll be like, that test failed, and it's very clear that the test is, it was null, so it's not necessary.
Okay, so that's great.
Do you want to talk a hot second about the double question mark? Although they probably talked about that before when they put that in.
Right, maybe, yeah. But yeah, let's talk about it.
It's a null test. And so it's like, only if it is null, do the other thing. Otherwise, have what was originally, in this case, article.title.
Right.
So it's just a quick little, it's syntactic sugar for the check of, is it null or not?
Okay, null here. What else do we have there? There's an async method that's, oh, here. Look at this. OnPressed is an async method that has no await. So async methods are for await. So there's no reason to have this, right? I'm sure there was at some point a reason, but yeah.
Also, I would say that's now a one-line method.
Oh,
might get rid of exactly.
Oh.
And now we get to talk about final and local areas, like I've been asking.
So where is it? Where did I find it? A snapshot data. Snapshot data. Oh, here. Okay, well, but we've seen this elsewhere. So we're in a build method, and yet we're saying final here.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, makes sense because we're not resigning.
Yeah.
But you're not super happy with that.
Yeah, so general Dart style is to just use var. To use var in local methods especially when it's obvious what the right hand side of the equation, the data is. The value of the right hand side, if the type is obvious, just use var. If the type is not obvious, assign a type. Final, again, is like kind of like asserting that things are not being reassigned, but like in a local variable or local function, do you really care?
Yeah, if you have like a 2,000 line long method, which you shouldn't.
First, stop.
Yeah, stop it. Stop right there. But let's say you have it, and then you do what? And then you say like, oh, results, I love results. I'm gonna
get them some more values.
Yeah, like
great.
Now they are actually like 1 or something. It says no, that's a final variable, can only be set once.
It says shame on you.
Right. If you do var, then it's like it's still complaining because now it's a different type. But if so it could be useful, and it's my habit right now, so I'll be doing it all the time.
So the Flutter team, I will say, if you contribute code to the Flutter core code base, their local style is to use final everywhere, and they do it so that they could be like super sure that everything is behaving as it expects, but it has no performance benefits. You're typing a little bit more. The Dart official style is to use var. So
right, yeah, go with that. So official, by the way, we didn't talk about this, but if you go to Dart programming language, and you go to language, and you go to effective Dart, so like obviously you have all the tour and all the like specifications and stuff, but effective Dart is a really good thing to walk through because
unless you want to write ineffective Dart, in which case
get out. Get right. So it says things like, oh, do use terms consistently, avoid blah. So it's a lot of things that is great, and we actually often, like, if you see something in code, like in code review, you would be just like, hey, look at this. Like you're not doing.
Don't be mad at me, the Dart style guide. Get mad at them.
Yeah. So you're kind of, you don't need to argue about this because Bob has already argued about this. Okay, good. That's final.
Yeah.
Then
do you want to clean up final in that other class that or the other method we were looking at while we were talking?
Everywhere, you mean?
Okay,
almost.
maybe. Okay, we can do that later. Yeah, I guess you've got all the value out of talking about final. We can do it later. Okay.
Article search, yes. We have a lot of things in this one main.dart file, even though it's still short, but So, wait a minute. What is this?
Where is article search?
this one.
Yes. So, as if you've been watching the past few Boring Show episodes, you may have seen once or twice me get tripped up by article search because, and it wasn't just me also, but some other people too. We made changes in some code because it has code that is similar but slightly different to the main viewing thing.
That. Yeah,
and so we made changes in the build method and nothing changes and you're like, what's going on? So maybe, just maybe, we should put the search functionality out into a separate file because it's pretty different in terms of what's going on, what it's doing.
I'm just going to do like widgets. What do you think about widgets and search? And then, there will be new.
Okay. Is source everything? But source is not strictly generated stuff either. So we have the HN block. I can do this.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
I mean, or you could put HN block in it's not widget.
What am I doing here? Refactor. What?
Oh,
no! What? Do refactor. Okay. See, like I like to have maybe this because all this is kind of business logic thing.
Yeah.
And widgets are. Yeah. Are you okay with this?
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's a fancy way to move classes around, but I'm just gonna do this, and then of course a lot of pain here because I'm like wait. Material.
And tell us, Philip, what keyword shortcut are you using?
This is Alt-Enter, which is something different on every other platform.
Yeah, I think it's Command-Enter? Could be wrong. On Macs is Alt-Enter for Android Studio and IntelliJ. And that's import the thing.
Yeah, okay, so this one, and now it complains here that it doesn't have it.
Just need to import the file.
Where is it? Oh, come on. Oh, here. Yep.
Whew. And now we can run to make sure it's all good.
Yes.
So much better. This will save us so many problems in the future.
And same thing for this. Hacker News webpage is a widget that we should probably take it somewhere else, right? No? That's the, like, it's a separate...
separate. Yeah. Sure. I don't have as strong a feeling about that one.
Oh, really? I love not doing work, so let's keep it. Okay. So that's main.dart. Let's talk about... I think we talked about this one should be first.
Mm-hmm.
This guy.
Yes. So, the underscore. So, we talked about underscores for privacy of your local fields and classes. And also, we have the same convention as Python has the same convention too, actually.
Yeah.
If you basically underscore in a function signature as like one of the parameters, that just means it's not being used. So it's like this function takes a parameter, but we don't use it, so use the underscore. It's just a convention.
Yes, exactly. So like normally it would be like, oh, this is actually some kind of future, right? So you could be like, oh, future, but since it's not used, nobody cares. So you just say no, and you could even be doing things with it. I think, I don't know. I mean, it's just a regular name of,
Yeah.
But
actually, we could check. What
can we? So wait.
I have to see what it is.
Yeah, it's a future. So
Future of what though? Oh, I guess.
Oh. It's a ticker future. Maybe we can't do anything with ticker futures. I don't know.
Do we have other underscores? Surely we do in other things. I'm just wondering if there's a easier case to test this out with.
Yeah, I'm sure, but anyway, I'm just gonna do this, and then you're asking for more underscores like this, right?
Yeah.
Here we're actually catching something. Oh, that's generated code, so we're catching an error that we're actually not using the error, and so on and so forth.
Okay. Wow.
Anyway, so if you see something like this, sometimes you even see this, which is weird to me. But if you see something like this, that's just a name or a convention to have stuff like this. Anyway, cool.
And that's another thing. So the reason you have the double underscore is because you can't have two parameters with the same name. But in the case of underscore, if it's not being used, it's like, what do I care? That's another thing that the Dart team, last I heard, was looking at fixing up. So,
all right, that's good news.
Yes, more things coming, hopefully.
Okay, let's go to another file, and that's the article file. Mm-hmm. Here, it's like, this is actually partly generated. So, this is using the build value package. And I don't think we've ever ran the generation after after
it first got generated.
Generated. So we should probably document this. And again, I don't want to spend 30 minutes documenting things, but hopefully this could have at least a shell script or something that you can run to regenerate, because nobody remembers what to do right now. Mm-hmm. I think it's just, let me actually try. If I just do pub run build runner, build. Oh, okay. Yeah, well.
Oh no!
What?
Oh no! Hacker News depends on Flutter test. Oh, that's because
Flutter
test is not a thing now, or moved to a different package.
No, it's also because we're trying to get in a Flutter thing. So Flutter packages
get. Oh, okay.
Flutter packages get that definitely, and then Flutter packages, and now run. I think basically the same thing, but Flutter packages.
I haven't actually done this, so
yeah,
we'll see.
This will probably fail. Build runner build. If it, packages also. I'm not sure if that.
Run. How about packages?
Okay, Flutter run. No.
Yeah.
That's definitely not it.
What if, let's see, the original one is
Flutter.
Okay. Do you want me to look?
Yes. Flutter packages run. I think that was it. Basically, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to do pub run or
Flutter packages pub run build runner build.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh. This is what was autocomplete. Let's try that.
Flutter
it's everything but just pub
run build runner build. Ta-da. Yeah, so this is why we should have wow, what's doing? Oh yeah, cool. Anyway, so this is why we should probably have it documented somewhere. Let's actually do that. Hey.
Exit code 78.
What?
Conflicting output.
The outputs are serializers.
Oh,
delete conflicting outputs, maybe?
Yeah.
These outputs must be removed manually or build can run.
It's just saying it doesn't want to overwrite them in case you... Well, you shouldn't have changed anything, but... Preserving, yeah. That's a command right there.
What?
Yeah, right?
Success or not? I want to.
Isn't there a
synchronize.
refresh? Oh yeah. What did it do? What did it
The
do?
target here hasn't been generated. It has been generated. Come on.
Do you need to close, restart Android Studio or something? Oh,
wow.
Analyzer just needed to catch up or
Right.
something.
Okay. So we definitely need to document this. So I'm gonna do it. At least.
If it's just one line, I wouldn't make it a shell script, but
No,
I would
just document it in README. So Ooh, new Flutter applications. No. Okay. Hacker news reader app in Flutter development. I can't.
To regenerate. What do you want to call this?
Article. I mean, to regenerate file. I'm too okay. Let's just.
So okay, what scenarios would this be?
Yeah.
Would
so
this get updated?
whenever you're working on articles and the serialization logic here, you should be running this. And by the way,
okay. So how about saying, one article gets changed, or if articles API gets changed, you must run blah 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 blah. You might say, yeah. And you might even put articles in the backticks for code. Yes. Yes.
And also there's the Flutter packages pop around build runner watch, which will regenerate at any time that you are changing that. So you could do that, but let's not, if I was working on the article.
Side note, I have a sticker for pub run build. I should have just looked at my computer.
What?
Pub run build runner. Serve. Anyway.
Nice. So that's so we have it documented, right? We could also document it here, to be honest, but anyway.
Yeah, maybe. I maybe just copy that.
Right.
You might just say like, note this file if changing this file. See README.
Oh, okay.
Note. Or whatever. Don't let me do what makes sense to you. Do Filip H.
It regenerates
serialization code. Great.
All right, cool. We have this thing, static getter of a serializer. What's that about?
So I believe I'm not honestly super familiar with this code, but it sounds like basically article is. Are we treating it kind of like a singleton almost? We're just getting the serializer. So yeah, we don't article. Oh wait, article. Why is article a singleton? We're just saying there's a single serializer for all the articles.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And it's just a getter because so that convention. There's a convention in Dart if you have something generated. We have that $sign in the variable name, and so we just are wrapping it in sort of a getter to not expose the $sign. Is there more to that?
Yes, yeah. I was gonna also say that I think I was surprised at first that you could have like a getter that's not in a class or that's static, right? So I can actually say like int get number is like 42, and that's okay. And now it's a getter, so you cannot set the number. It has no, that probably doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
here.
I'd say that's a pretty uncommon use case.
Yeah. But it's possible.
It is possible.
You can also have a setter of a thing that doesn't have a getter, which is even weirder. But.
Yeah, but here's another thing. Well, okay, actually. So, yeah. Just I wanted to point out, if you are writing getters and setters for the same variable, just don't. This is another Dart style thing. You should just have the variable and access it directly. This is not Java. You don't need to add a bunch of boilerplate. Just do the thing.
Another thing that sometimes trips people up, like, why would you do this? This is basically saying, oh, I have a constructor that does nothing, and it's not just a regular constructor, it's a named constructor. And I don't have a regular constructor, like I don't have article this here.
Yes. So this means this is without the factory. This means that you can't construct an object of that type. It's a way to prevent that. You would do this particularly if you have like a singleton type class and you're like, I'm preventing. It's kind of like is there equivalent in Java? I feel like there was, where you can.
Yeah, like you can have private constructors, I think, and stuff like this. So yeah, but as Emily says, like now I cannot instantiate this class because there's no. Even tells me there's no. It tells me
it doesn't have a default constructor. Yeah, because if it's named, then it.
Yeah. So just by adding this, it tells Dart that there's nothing like that.
Cannot be constructed.
But we have a factory here, and now what's all this? Like, how can a factory be assigned to, Emily?
So this is called a redirecting constructor. Factory constructors are just kind of like methods, functions that pretend to be constructors.
Yeah, I'm gonna factory like I could have a constructor like from map and then map and then this could be any amount of code here, and then at the end of it I can article.
Yes, it must return an article. That's the thing. But it pretends to be a constructor, but and in this case we are. And in this case, we are, because we have this generated code, we are just saying there's a generated constructor. And so we're just saying, like, instead of, like, executing code, whenever you see new article or just article, you're going to kind of in place stick that $$ article. It's basically just like substituting it in.
Oh, okay. So it's like the same code goes here.
Yes.
Okay.
But it's kind of like it's like an inlining almost.
Oh, okay.
It kind of eliminates any extra like here and then return.
Right.
New article.
I see this a lot. So just so you know, this is what the factory in the $$ article is. So that's a normal factory that just like returns an article, and now we're assigning it to it. I see this a lot, for example, like if you create a map, it automatically creates a hash map.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, it's a way to basically hide implementation details is kind of how factories are. So, if you see, this allows us to just say new map, and then under the covers, we have hash map. Exactly. And again, there's like because it's like inlining, it's just calling directly, or like puts linked hash map in the spot. There's not like an additional redirect of like dynamic dispatch type thing to look it up.
Okay.
Details.
Cool. We have that. We also just wanted to like briefly. I don't think we have that much time, but this is generated code. So this is not like the best code ever. You wouldn't write it like this, but it's nice because you can actually debug everything. It's if there's any trouble with the serialization code, you can actually look at the serialization and how it's done, and step through it and stuff like this. I like the use of cascades here, right? I don't know, do we want to talk about cascades?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about cascades. So they look scary, but they're not. Basically, if you have a function, in the case of add, I think, does add return, is it add just void?
In some cases.
I think it is.
Yeah,
it's void.
Yeah.
Okay, so particularly in a case where like you have a function that doesn't return anything, but I'm not explaining this very well. Method cascades, the double dot thing, allows you to, it returns the object that was calling. So it returns results. It's particularly useful, though, why I was like asking about add returning void is particularly useful if you want to do something again with it, and the method is not returning something. And it saves, as Filip is very helpfully adding, it saves a little bit of boilerplate so that you don't have to say result.add blah, result.whatever. You can just go ... It's just a little bit cleaner. It removes visual clutter. You need double dot there, add. The first one. Result.
Oh, yes.
Yes, there you go. And then it should reformat when you save. Oh, that's a little odd. I thought the formatter didn't do that. I thought the standard way was to always have it on a new line. ... So
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. If you edit, this is not normal. Like if you do something like this, but yeah, it starts to do.
Okay, but I thought it always did that. But
yeah,
whatever. Anyway, yeah. So it just returns the original calling objects, so that you can do more stuff with it.
Cool.
Comes in handy, especially for writing like one-liners. And Flutter, because you've got this like reactive thing, and it's like build, return one. One-liners are your friend, so.
Yes. Okay, our cheat sheet is getting almost. Oh, not really.
Got some.
Let's all. Well, one thing that I also wanted to point out here in this particular generated code is that we have this weird thing: bool operator equals. What's all that about?
So you can override an equals operator, or you can override plus.
Yeah, you can override a lot
This
of
is
things.
particularly useful in cases of like, say you're creating some sort of like collection type method or collection type class. You override plus, so you want to just like add the things, then you can.
Yeah.
If you want to be evil, you could override plus b minus. Please don't do that. We will come hunt you down. No.
There's also this.
Yes, the brackets, so you can index things. That's super handy. Was there more that you wanted to ask about?
No, it's just there's the so you can definitely do this. This is very important when you have basically value classes or data classes where both things like you don't want to like if you instantiate one article and another article and they have the exact same contents, they should be equal, right? While normally it's like if you instantiate two things one after another and then you try to find out if they're equal because they're two different objects, they not equal, right? So that's why you override. And if you override an equals operator, then you should also override the hash code operator. Yeah. See, this is generated code, but basically this hash is like it tries to hash everything in your class to make sure that the hash code is always the same for every combination of values. Yeah,
so the equals operator that's executed if you say, is this equal to this? Hash code is if you put it in like a hash map or a map, which has any sort of thing. And so if the equals is overridden and the hash is not, you're going to have some very confusing bugs because when you put it in a collection and you're like, but they look the same and it says it's equal, it's because you didn't override.
Right. Good point. Hacker News block. Again, we're not going to talk about state management here, but we are going to just look at things that don't really work. So for example, here we're not closing the sinks here, and we do have, as I just learned, a close method. So we just do, you know what, I want to close this as well. And then another thing was...
new stories subject, I think.
Yeah, yes.
New article subject.
Close. See, and we're already taking care of all of that. By the way, there's another lane that says, hey, you're using stream, but you're not importing .async, which is from version 2.1 afterwards, stream is in .core, so you don't need to import .async. But this package actually says, I want SDK 2.0. So I'm just going to do this, and that
It says it can be greater than, though. That's weird that it's not...
No, we were saying this code works also in 0.
Oh, I see.
Right.
Yes, it can work lower, and in that case it would be like, no, you didn't import this. Got it. Thank
cool.
you.
So now we don't have that.
And now you want to, it says get your pubs back.
Oh, yes.
That's just to make it happy. But it shouldn't change anything because we didn't actually.
Right.
We just changed the constraints.
What else do we have? In a hacker news blog.
Unfunded modifiable list.
Oh, yeah, my favorite. So we have, where is it? Unmodifiable.
I thought that was in.
Oh, yeah, this one, for example. So we are providing, basically we're providing a list of articles, right, to our consumers in the app. And we could just do that. We could just like provide a list of articles. The problem is that list of articles in Dart is mutable. So even if it's like a final variable, or even if it's coming through a stream, it's still modifiable. So if you weren't careful, you could actually change it, right? So you would like, oh, remove where, and you could like suddenly for everyone else, you could change the list of articles that you're doing. Unmodifiable list view is just a list view, or like it's a list that you cannot modify. You create it once, and that's it. So here, where are we actually doing it? Here,
Yeah.
I have a list of articles, and I just wrap it in an unmodifiable list view, and on unmodifiable list view has this like you can ask for length, you can get the individual things,
Yep.
and that's it. You can cast.
Yeah, it's sort of like as we were talking about with final stuff. Final, you can assign it once, but you can't. You can change the contents. This is like no, you cannot change the contents.
Right.
Do you want to talk about hash map? Because I saw a hash map in there, which should not be in there.
So should I talk about sure. Normally in Dart you like if it's a hash map you just say map. There is a hash map class, but like
under the covers, map is map directs you to hash map.
I think it's a linked hash map, but anyway, so like unless you have a really good reason to have a hash map and
we
not something else, we don't. Then we just do this.
And it's shorter.
And it's shorter. You know what?
And wait though, so why assign that? Why not put that in like an initializer list? You could assign that in an initializer list.
That's
right?
true. I'm just gonna find out. Are we actually reassigning? Yeah, we are reassigning. Okay, so we can put it final.
Yeah.
Yeah. So should I just do that? What? Should I just? So initialize the list. Another exciting topic.
So exciting. So basically, those things get run before the body, and these are particularly useful if you are doing something. If you're initializing things with like a compile time constants, you can. Oh, I'm jumping all over the place. So if you have a const constructor, you can just initialize all your things with an initializer list because it's all done. It is known at compile time. The initializer list gets run before the body of the constructor.
Yeah.
Is there anything else to say about it?
Well, so why would you even want something like that? Why don't we just do this?
You need parentheses with my immutable.
Oh, that's right.
I mean, so normally I guess there's probably a better reason. My rule of thumb is like if I can set it in an initializer list and have it set at compile time, I do it.
Right. Also, if you want to do this and say this is final, then suddenly, oh no, this is not final. So we just do this.
Yes, you have to set it in the initializer list. Because basically it needs to execute everything.
Right. And now I can do this, and now I can do this, right?
Yep.
There's another thing that I didn't realize at first is that you can actually have like a static method here or something that gives, like, for example, a string create hello and and you can actually do that here. So it's not like, and now it can be const, but like in your initializer, you don't need to ram everything into these things. You can actually have helper methods, and it's sometimes very useful. Like you have like a color class, and you need some, when you need some way to, you want this to be final, but you also want to have some conversion, for example, like you add RGB values and you want to create something else, then you can still have everything final, and you can still have bunch of code running it, and you can just like put it here.
Yep, totally.
Yeah.
I feel like we've talked about a lot today. Should we?
Yeah, we should wrap up. I think we do basically, we covered everything.
Yeah.
Cool. So
thanks for listening to the language episode.
Yeah, it was very exciting, right? So
More exciting.
just to make sure that everything works, we did a lot of changes. Hopefully everything still works. Awesome.
Change the tabs just to be sure.
And your animation is still working. See?
Hey.
Yay. All right. Thank you for watching. And if you have questions, add them below. And that's it from us.
Yeah, we'll see you in 2 weeks or so.